We don't have a watch on as well. No.
Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Asharet, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malachei Hamlakim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Bohem l'shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon. Mi Melech, Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Baruch Hu, Mi l'shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon. Mi Melech, Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Tzeitkhem l'shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon. Mi Melech, Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Shabbat Shalom.
Shalom. It is so great to, my mic is on. It is so great to be here with you all. For those who I don't know, my name is Ali Carpel. I'm the student rabbi here this summer. I spoke last week a bit about how the great theologian and rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel spoke about Shabbat as a palace in time. So in order to prepare ourselves to enter that palace, that magical place in time, I am going to invite you into a practice that I learned when I was a kid doing community theater. So if you're willing, I invite you to close your eyes, plant your feet on the floor, maybe place a hand or two on your chest. Take a deep breath in and breathe all of the worries, the stress, the busyness of the week that just passed into your hand. And then shake it out. We're leaving all of that behind and we're entering this palace of time, of joy, of rest, of community. So now that we've mentally and maybe spiritually welcomed Shabbat, let's physically welcome each other. First, we'll turn to the cameras behind us and wish a Shabbat Shalom to family and friends at home. And now I invite you to turn to a neighbor, perhaps someone you don't know or someone you didn't come here with, and wish them a Shabbat Shalom. And now that we've greeted each other, we can begin the process of greeting Shabbat with the lighting of our Shabbat candles.
I'm not supposed to do that.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher shel Shabbat.
We sanctify the Sabbath with our wine or grape juice, not sure which.
Grape juice.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher hishanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu b'shabbat kodsho be'ahava uv'ratzon imchilanu zikaron lema'aseh bereshit ki hu yom techila lemikraye kodesh zeher litziat mitzrayim kivanu v'acharta v'yotanu kidashta mikol hamim v'shabbat kodshecha be'ahava uv'ratzon himchaltanu Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh hashabbat. Amen. L'chaim. So with the sweetness of the grape juice on Canna Roskin's lips, we turn to acknowledging the sweetness, the joy in our lives. So if you have something you are grateful for or something joyous that has happened in your life since the last time you were here, whether that was last Shabbat or a time before, I invite you to raise your hands so we can celebrate that sweetness and joy together. So many hands raised. Very exciting. Very exciting. We love employment. Yes. Very exciting. Mazel tov. Yes. Amazing to continued good health and to celebrating grandchildren. Yeah. Well, we are so glad to have you. Welcome back. I'll step back so I can see hands. Yes. I love finding the silver lining. Silver lining. I appreciate your outlook. Any other Shehechianu moments you want to share?
Rabbi Nichols sent me an email from Camp Coleman where my daughter is to let me know that she is doing fine. And it was really a blessing to receive it because as great as working Camp Coleman is, I am mom and I was nervous that it was love.
To the blessing of knowing our kids are all right. Amazing. Well, for all of those joys and the ones that have gone unsaid, we offer the words of Shehechianu. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shehechianu v'kiyanu b'zman hazeh. Shehechianu to the joy of Shabbat with the words of Lecha Dodi. beginning of the love sandwich I spoke of last week, affirming God's love for us on the one end and our love and devotion to God on the other.
Ahavat olam Beit Yisrael, Amchavta, Torah u'mitzvot, chukim u'mishpatim, otanu limadeta. Al kein Adonai Eloheinu, v'shofteinu u'v'kumeinu, nasiach b'chukecha, v'nismach b'divrei Toratecha, u'b'mitzvotecha, le'olam va'ed. Ki him chayenu le'orech yameinu, u'bahem neged yomam halayla. Ve'ahavatecha al tasir mimenu le'olamim. Baruch atah Adonai, ohev amo Yisrael. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed. Please be seated. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavecha u'b'chol nafshecha u'b'chol mevodecha. Ve'hayu hadarim ha'ele asher Anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha v'shiyantam levanecha v'divarta bam v'shivtecha b'beitecha u'v'lechtecha b'derech u'v'shochmecha u'v'kumecha u'kshartam le'ot al yadecha v'hayu letotavot b'einecha u'chtavtam al mezuzot beitecha u'visharecha leman tizkeru va'asitem et kol mitzvotai v'hitem kedoshim le'lohechem. Ani Adonai Elohechem asher hotzeiti etem me'eretz Mitzrayim liyot lachem Elohim. Ani Adonai Elohechem.
This Shabbat, we find ourselves at the end of a period called Bein HaMetzarim, the narrow straits, the 3 weeks leading up to Tisha B'Av, which begins on Wednesday night. Bein HaMetzarim, which sounds a whole lot like the word recited at the end of the Ve'ahavta, Mitzrayim, meaning Egypt, the epitome of narrowness and confinement and pain. Michamocha sings of the moment the Israelites crossed from that narrow place of Mitzrayim into the promise of freedom. An important step on their journey towards becoming a people. And I say promise of freedom, an important step on their journey, because the transformation from physical liberation to spiritual freedom did not occur overnight. So too is the journey from Bein HaMitzarim to the joy and sweetness we will soon celebrate in 8 weeks on Rosh Hashanah. And even more so is the journey that we are all on from the narrowness that we all face to liberation and strength in whatever ways we define that. Michamocha, to me, is really the realization that no matter how long those journeys are, how narrow, how winding, we never have to go at it alone, and that we can join in hands and sing together. Grant, O God, that we lie down in peace and raise us up, our guardian, to life renewed. Spread over us a sukkah of your peace. Guide us with your good counsel. For your name's sake, be our help.
Eloheinu
one of the highlights of my time here at Temple Beth El has been the honor of sitting on the Beit Din, or rabbinic court or panel for conversion students as they reflect on their journey to Judaism and answer questions about their relationship to prayer, to God, to ritual, to Jewish community, before they immerse in the mikveh at Temple Israel, which is the final step on the conversion journey. And at each of these B'tei Din, which have all occurred on Friday mornings, one of my favorite part of the whole process is the moment that these new Jews emerge from the mikveh and we are able to hand them their Kiddush cup and wish them a Mazel Tov and a Shabbat Shalom as they celebrate their first Shabbat as a Jew. And this is my favorite part of the process because so often I take Shabbat for granted, and it's easy to take for granted this incredible gift we have to come together, to reflect, to sing, to rest. And to me, Vishamru is that reminder that when I don't have the Beit Din, when I sing Vishamru, it's a reminder that not only is Shabbat a commandment, but it's also a gift.
Shabbat Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hadadol Hagibor V'Hadorah, El Elyon, Omer Chasadim Tovim, Bekolei Hakol, Bezocher Chastei Avot Ve'imahot, Umevli Geulah Livnei Bneihem, Leman Shemo Be'ahava, Melech Ozer U'Moshiach U'Magen, Baruch Atah Adonai, Magen Avraham Be'ezrat Sarah, Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai, Nechayim Hakol, Atah Rav Lehoshia, Mori Atah, Mechalkel Chaim B'Chesed, Mechayim Hakol B'Rachamim Rabim, Somech Noflim V'Rofech Olim, Umatir Asurim, Umkayem Emnato, Lishenei Afar, Michamocha Bal Gevurot, Umidom Elach, Melech Merit Umechayeh, Umatmiach Yeshua, Le'man Ata Le'Hachayot Hakol, Baruch Atah Adonai, Mechayeh Hakol, Atah Kadosh V'Shimcha HaKadosh, U'Kedoshim B'chol Yom Yahallelu Chasela, Baruch Atah Adonai, Ha'el HaKadosh.
Continue in silence with the words of our hearts.
Shalom, Shalom, Ibrahim, Uyase Shalom, Aleinu, Le'alkol Yisrael, Einu, Amen. Uyase
to those in our community who are in need of shalom, of shlemut, of peace, of wholeness. If there's anyone in your life who is in need of healing, of mind, of body, or of spirit, I invite you to say their name out loud as my eyes meet yours. We join together in the words of Mishaberach.
On Wednesday night, I returned home from 10 days serving on faculty at Camp Coleman, the Reform Movement's camp in northern Georgia, where over 24 Temple Bethel kids are campers or staff members. When I wasn't teaching my own programs, I usually wandered down to the Arts and Crafts building to try and lend a hand. And I was able to help with one particular group in the metal shop area over the course of 3 days, as they created copper-wrapped glass pendants. I realized quickly that watching a group of middle schoolers get started on a project requiring totally unfamiliar skills was going to be interesting. Personalities showed themselves within minutes. Did they choose their materials thoughtfully or randomly? Did they show patience with the delicate saw blades or repeatedly saw too hard and break them? Were they focused on their project or distracted by their neighbors? Unfortunately, a couple of campers stuck out. One asked for help repeatedly and prefaced each ask with phrases like, "I know this looks terrible," or "I'm sure I'm doing this wrong," or "I'm not going to be able to make this, but my constant reassurances and reminders that this activity was new for everyone did not seem to make a dent in her swirling self-doubt." In contrast, another camper was up from the bench trying to grab a saw off the board before the directions had even been given. And when called back to the table, he groaned, "But this is so easy, I know what to do." Not surprisingly, once he was allowed to start, his confidence had him sawing through the sheet of copper so fast that he missed a step and cut off the piece that would attach the pendant to the cord in the end. I thought of these campers when I read this week's Torah portion, Devarim, where Moses addresses the Israelites and reviews their journey from Egypt to the edge of the Promised Land. Moses is often held up in our tradition as the ultimate example of humility. After all, he expresses doubt about his ability to lead the Israelites from his very first encounter with God at the burning bush. But Moses, being the ultimate example of humility, does not mean that he is excessively humble. Instead, it means that Moses has the right measure of humility. Moses, especially here in Devarim, near the end of his life, seems to have found a balance of ego and humility. In his speech in Devarim, Moses recollects each and every mistake the Israelites have made, and how God and Moses forgave them or punished them and then showed them the way forward. At first, the Israelites appear to have all the weaknesses, and God and Moses all the strengths. And yet, if we look closely, when Moses is listing his faults, their faults, he actually doesn't leave himself out. Moses reminds the people that he was unable to lead them on his own. He reminds them that he told them, "I cannot bear the burden of you by myself," and proceeded to organize a system of leaders and judges. Moses' admission is a remarkable display of humility right here in the Torah, because all through his speech, Moses revises history, adding and deleting details from the stories that were told earlier in the Torah. The ancient rabbis have a field day explaining the inconsistencies between the early books of the Torah and Moses' retelling in Deuteronomy. But given his frequent revisions of the storyline, why didn't Moses continue to take creative license and portray himself as a more perfect leader? This was his golden opportunity to set himself up to be remembered as an infallible leader. I believe, though, that Moses did not leave his own faults out because he understood the importance of balancing ego and humility. He recognized that the Israelites were going to face great challenges as they entered the Promised Land, and getting through those challenges would require that perfect combination of confidence and humility. Moses seems to have found that right balance back in the same episode where he demonstrated his humility to the people. When he admitted that he needed help governing the people, he asked them to act with humility in return. He told them, "And any matter that is too difficult for you, you shall bring to me, and I will hear it." That's confidence. Moses balanced humility, acknowledging that he was overwhelmed, with confidence in his own judgment, reassuring the people that he would support them and back them up. Returning to the two campers I described in the metal shop, I wish that I could have mixed together her self-doubt and his overconfidence and then redistributed them. Perhaps she would have been able to view her finished product with pride instead of as a reminder that she didn't do it without help. And perhaps he would have been able to recognize that new projects take time and could have slowed down long enough to actually complete the project. But teaching this balance is really hard, and people seem to naturally have either too big an ego or totally lack self-confidence. Finding that middle ground is hard, and helping people develop humility is even harder. It's difficult to teach humility without putting people down. Somehow telling someone, "You should be more humble about your baseball skills. You're not that good, you know," doesn't seem like the best method for developing humility. But we can't give up on it. Rabbi Susan Freeman suggests that humility is a foundational virtue because it is necessary to be humble in order to make change. In order to set goals of self-improvement, we have to be at least humble enough to admit that there are things we need to work on. Rabbi Freeman writes, "Being clear about what we are not is the first step in moving toward who we want to become. At the same time, humility is a virtue only when it brings out the good in us. When humility leads us down a path of low self-worth or shame, it is no longer a virtue to be admired. Balancing humility and positive self-confidence is essential." Rav Kook wrote, "When humility brings about depression, it's defective. When it's genuine, it should inspire joy, courage, and inner dignity. joy, courage, and inner dignity. You don't normally think about that with humility. But humility can invite self-improvement and leave room to have change that we can then celebrate. So this week in our Torah portion, we were reminded that Moses was humble enough to acknowledge that he needed help. And in doing so, was able to create a structure of shared leadership that brought our people into the promised land. My prayer for us is that each of us can find that right level of humility that does not harm us, but spurs us on to new challenges and accomplishments. May Moses' words and humility continue to inspire. Shabbat Shalom.
Thank you, Rabbi Nichols, for your words of Torah. I invite everyone to please rise as we turn to the concluding words of our prayers.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה יוצא בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהן, וגורלנו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא, ונאמר אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא ביום ההוא יהי אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד.
You may be seated. If my boundary stops here, I have daughters to draw new maps on the world. They will draw the lines of my face. They will draw with my gestures, my voice. They will speak my words thinking they have invented them. They will invent them. They will invent me. I will be planted again and again. I will wake in the eyes of their children's children. They will speak my words. This poem by Jewish-American poet Ruth Whitman speaks to the ways in which the words we say, the things we do, have a way of outliving us. That the legacy we leave behind when we depart from this world has a way of continuing on through the people we've loved and the relationships we've built. It is perhaps for this very reason that the last book of the Torah is called Devarim, literally meaning words. As Rabbi Nichols mentioned, this fifth and final book is filled with sermons and teachings from our revered prophet as he nears the end of his lifetime. He knows that he will die before he reaches the promised land. So what does Moses do? He talks, and he talks, and he talks, and he talks, his words filling page after page of Torah. Ela hadavarim asher daber Moshe el kol Yisrael. These are the words that Moses spoke to all of Israel. All the words and all the stories that shaped their communal identity and narrative. Words and stories for them to carry with them when he would no longer be around. So on this Shabbat, as we think about Moses' words and his legacy, we also think about the words and legacies of those in our own lives who have passed on from this world. This Shabbat, we mark with sadness the period of Shloshim, 30 days of mourning, of Arnold Greenfield, Linda Harkavy, Ellen Lipson, Sabina Markel, Billy Merkelson, Robert Winters. And we mark the yahrzeits of Sam Bame, Bob Byrer, Harry Binder, Madeline Blumenthal, Anne M. Brandt, David Kabilis, Rose Cohen, Marla Drucker, Nelson Fisher, Debbie Lynn Freiberg, Joseph Fierstman, Hyman Gallinkin, Hilda Goldman, William Gross, Leonard Hecht, Susan Jacobson, Abby Schwartzbach Johnson, Esther Jordan, Zev Carmen, Ira Kistenberg, Abraham Noski, Charles M. Korach, Anne Crone, Kenneth LaRoe, Ruth Liebman, Elaine Liefert, Ida Levine, Joseph E. Levy, Arthur Lewis, Robert Lids, Sidney M. Lids, Wilbert Locklear Sr., Ruth Mannheimer, Barry Marshall, Josephine Pollock, Dawn Payton, Mark Heischer, Elaine Santer Redlick, Walter Soros Rivas, Susan Rosen Patterson, Morris Rubin, Jane Schreibman, Herbert A. Schwerwin, Frank Shore, William Sims, Jesse Simon, Leon W. Simon Jr., Edmund Cinda, Peter Jared Sitzman, Sol Sosikan, Louis Sternstein, Henry Weber, Albert Wiener, Maurice Weinstein, Joseph Weisenberg, Florence Weisenberg, Bernard Weisfeld, Jack Winsky, Susan Rose Wachowski, Carol Yasley. If there is anyone else in the community who is mourning the loss of someone, I invite you to say their name out loud. And we rise together as a community and we recite the words of the Mourner's Kaddish. Yit Gadal Vayit Kadash Shemei Rabbah V'alma Divrach Yirtei V'yamlich Malchutei V'chayechon Uvyomechon Uvkaye Dikol Beit Yisrael V'agala V'isman Kari V'imru Yehei Shmei Rabbah Mevarach Le'olam Umei Amayat Yitbarach V'yishabach V'yitpa'ar V'yitraman V'yitnaseh V'yithadar V'yithaleh V'yithalal Shemei Dekudushav Le'ela Min Kol Birchata V'shirata Tushbechata V'nechamata Da'miran Be'alma V'imru Yehei Shlama Rabba Min Shemayim V'chayim Aleinu Ve'al Kol Yisrael V'imru Oseh Shalom B'imromav Hu Ya'aseh Shalom Aleinu Ve'al Kol Yisrael V'imru Amen.
Oseh Shalom B'imromav Hu Ya'aseh Shalom Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imeru. Amen.
You may be seated. Before we conclude with the words of Adon Olam, a few announcements. The next Repro Rights Roundtable with Rabbi Erdheim will take place this coming Wednesday, July 26th at noon on Zoom. For this session, we are so excited to be joined by Representative Caleb Rudau of House District 116, who will be speaking to the group about how his Jewish faith informs his support of reproductive rights, as well as sharing the current state of reproductive rights in the North Carolina General Assembly. Then later that night, on Wednesday evening, at 7 p.m., we invite you to come to Tisha B'Av, from brokenness to wholeness. This gathering will begin with a text study, followed by a creative project of kintsugi, the Japanese art of repairing broken pottery with gold lacquer. To illustrate that out of brokenness, there is an opportunity for beauty and wholeness. We ask that you register for that program by Sunday, July 23rd, to ensure we have enough materials for everyone. And I'll conclude with some general reminders. A, please register for Temple's annual Wild Acres Retreat, taking place from September 1st to 3rd by Friday, August 11th. For more information, you can go to templebethel.org/wildacres. And if you have any questions about making your My Temple commitment or religious school enrollment for the upcoming year, please don't hesitate to contact our office or speak to Rabbi Nichols. Shabbat Shalom. We will conclude with the words of Adon Olam.
Adon Olam Asher Malach B'Terem